Hello, welcome to Grace Speaks, a Grace Church podcast. I am one of your hosts, Alexa Morion.
And I am Katya Gonzalez.
And today we're going to be interviewing.
Nice. No, this is good.
There you go. No, this
she's
is
not
really
used to
good.
doing. She's
No,
not used to
this is
doing
great.
the intros, so
We're
you know.
keeping this, by
yeah,
the way.
This is all gold right
So
there.
you can hear who's the other two. It's the youth pastors.
Yes.
I'm not
I'm
going
just
to
kidding.
Oh my god.
Man, this is good. That was great, though. I feel like
This is actually capturing the dynamic of all of our relationships.
Yeah,
right?
actually, though.
Chris Carpio, usually one of your hosts, but I tossed that over to Alexa, and she did a great job.
Debatable, but thank you.
And I'm Mike Vecchio. I'm not usually one of your hosts. I am just merely a guest here, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Oh,
So-
I was about to take it.
Yeah,
by
I
the
was
reins.
like, you're being interviewed
Yep,
this time.
sorry, my bad.
Anyway, so as you can tell, it's a youth takeover. So we're going to interview these two guys, see how the youth ministry is going, and kind of get some insight on what's happening. So I'll kick us off with the first question.
All right.
And it's a pretty easy one. We'll ease into it. How has Sunday mornings been going for you two?
How Sunday morning has been going for us, Mike? Why don't you go ahead and start?
Sundays have been great. Being the new guy on staff, coming in.
Sounded kind of
just
emotional there.
Yeah.
being the new guy.
Tears
But
flowing.
no, really. I even said something, last night at youth, last night's Wednesday service. Being the new guy coming in, just 6 months into his job, a new place during the middle of a pandemic. I didn't know exactly what to expect from, staff members or even from students. But as far as Sundays are going, I felt such a greater connection with the students as we've gone on over time. And as they've, seen what I'm about, that I'm here to not only teach them, but to grow with them as well and to grow the ministry with them. It's been a huge, encouraging sign for me. And it's been a journey so far that I've been proud to be on. I've been happy to be a part of. And just as we even continue through the summer, I'm super excited to keep Sundays going, to, keep growing connections with the students. And I think that they've been nothing but a positive for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I would say the same for the NEC on campus because, even though, I've been at this church for a really long time as a student and now as a teacher, I've still, been having, I had to come back and then make new connections. And prior to COVID, I was at the Randolph campus, right, primarily. And now, post-COVID, even though we're kind of still in it, I'm, at the NEC on campus, and I've been doing the same as Mike, developing these relationships and finding this friendship with my students, in a way that I think is really, it's really cool because, I can remember the students who wouldn't really say anything or wouldn't want to come up to play a game or something like that.
Right.
And now they're yeah, I want to volunteer for that.
Right.
Or I'll ask a question and they'll be like, yeah, I'll answer that question.
That's
so
awesome.
it's not
That's
just
great.
it's not just one or two kids that are involved anymore, that are the ones that I had already known before I moved over here. They're all the kids that are starting to feel more comfortable with the way that I teach, because I think that's also just another thing is the fact that Mike and I, we have really different teaching styles than even the guy, before us, Ruben. And I teach from a question standpoint, so
What do you mean by that?
I'll go over a passage and I'll say, if it's for example, count it all joy, brothers, when you face trials of various kinds. I'll ask the question what are we supposed to count all joy? And so then the students will then say oh, trials, of various kinds. I'll be what's an example of a trial? So as I go through my scripture, I'm not just reading it off to them and
Right.
then
Or throwing it at them.
yeah, and throwing it at them and then hoping that it sticks.
Right.
I'm actually encouraging them to make it their own because I know, at least for me, when I was a student in youth group, I would be coming back from a Saturday night of a sleepover at my friend's house or something like that. We're playing video games all night, and then I'm sitting there in the morning and I'm falling asleep, as my pastor's teaching, not because I wasn't interested in what he had to say, but just because when you're just listening to someone, it can be harder to actually stay attentive.
Right.
But if someone's if you have to be on your toes because you're going to be called on, or that there's an answer expected of you, then you're more aware, but you're also like processing mentally, like how can I articulate this in a way that makes sense to me, you know, because you have to, you know, if you're going to be answering somebody else's question. So that's another thing that I've been encouraged by, and seeing like how the youth group is growing, seeing that new like shift in their willingness to kind of like accept the way that I teach as well. So that's been cool.
Yeah, and I think even to the point of view, encouraging discussion, I would say, you know, comparing our teaching styles here for a second, that I would say I don't do as much of that as him. I would say for at least my students, it happens a little bit more naturally, because especially during our last series when we went through TikTok videos, we were, really basing it in scripture and, disproving false teachings. And I noticed during that series that they were more keen to participating a little bit more and, raising their hands and asking questions, even just the simplest things, or just making comments on what we were learning, because I realized that TikTok is something that like is very prevalent in their life, and it's a huge source of like entertainment and social media entertainment.
It's the biggest social media platform, like period.
Yeah,
Right.
and even during the COVID, even during the pandemic, like you saw so many people getting into and downloading TikTok because they had literally nothing else to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the boom came from, and even coming into this year more, there's things that are starting to develop on that website that you didn't see last year, including these false teachers that we're going over. And I think that them seeing that and seeing that we're willing to tackle those sorts of things sort of open them up to the idea a little bit of more of, all right, so what exactly are these people about, these people that we're learning about, and why do they do this?
Right.
So that's the main thing that I got from that. But I think that, as we go on, I just think that discussion just happens a little bit more naturally because they get to know me a little bit better.
Right.
Right.
They feel comfortable so they can ask these
Right.
questions. Yeah. That's awesome that you guys
Yeah.
are starting to build that rapport with your with the youth in your different campuses.
Yeah, and getting to see you guys like Wednesday night, I definitely see those relationships that you guys just talked about, and it's been really sweet.
Oh.
So for our podcast, we have done like behind the sermon series, and kind of gonna do a little something similar here. But I heard a little bit about the new sermon series coming up, but what is it? And if you guys could just talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we're kind of stoked for it because we, when we create our own like curriculum and stuff like that, we like to be creative with it. We like to have fun with it. And so for this one, we choose a book like first, and then obviously create an idea that revolves around the teaching of that book.
So like book of the Bible.
Yeah, book of
okay.
the Bible.
Just
yeah.
to clarify, got it.
So we're not like, hey, we want to do a series on like working out. Let's go find something that fits that
Right,
agenda. It's more like, hey, we want to do a book on, like for this case, James, right? And what are some ways that James lends itself to an illustration that can almost flow throughout the entire book, right? Obviously, the illustration is always not going to fit, and so we're going to stick to the text when it doesn't fit. But where it does fit, we want to emphasize that, because ultimately, like what ends up happening is that illustration that we're teaching throughout the series is what sticks, because it's weird and it's kind of funny, So for this series, it's called Shape Up, and it's based off of like old like 80s like workout videos and stuff like that,
Nice.
right? Like what's that one guy's name?
Richard Simmons.
Richard
the
Simmons,
guy,
like, oh my gosh.
Are you
so
guys going
funny.
to dress like him for a Sunday morning?
No, so
Okay.
I think it would be
I think that would scar some kids.
Yeah, I was like,
We'll
please
veer away from
don't.
it, but
I think it would be slightly inappropriate. For
Parents
us.
I
are
think
like
so, too.
calling the church.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Well,
80s
what are our
takeover.
youth pastors wearing? Like, we get it, it's hot, but it's not that hot. But yeah, so we actually did buy like some like jumpsuits, kind of. They're like jogging pants and like windbreakers and stuff
Oh,
like that.
nice. Like 80s.
Yeah, like
themed?
80s themed.
Do you guys have matching ones?
No, they're not matching.
No,
I didn't
but-
want to get like, mine's slightly different than his, but they're pretty much the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
they've got almost like the same pattern on it, but like he has a more like
Mine's like a darker tone.
a darker tone, and I have the brighter like neon blue, pink, yellow.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it was actually funny because like I had been telling students like leading up to this series that like me and him are like definitely going to get close for this, and like we're going all out with it. And it was funny because a couple of students last night actually said like, you guys need to post the link for the outfit because maybe they were even interested in buying it.
Right.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how exactly serious they were, but the fact
I don't know
that
if
they
they'll
showed
buy it.
interest-
It's kind of expensive.
It is really expensive. So, like,
I was like, this is like kind of a lot of money for the
Yeah.
quality of this clothes.
I know it
like
feels very cheap.
It's like
Amazon.
Amazon clothes,
Yeah.
but it was
Yeah.
like $96 for this
Oh,
whole
wow.
outfit.
Yeah,
Whoa.
You
But-
could just go thrifting.
Yeah.
exactly. But
Well,
at the
maybe they'll take your outfits and be inspired and then create their own.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tell them to go
yeah,
thrifting.
and even so, like I was saying last night that like the pants of the windbreaker like appeal to me so much that like they may become like regular pieces of the wardrobe. Like especially the windbreaker, like
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
I'll definitely wear that more
The
than once.
windbreaker for sure.
Yeah.
Like the windbreaker is obviously something that
Mhm.
is not. It's not a weird thing. If you wear both of them at the same time, I think you might be like a little extra. You know.
Yeah, like if I wore those to Planet Fitness, I may be the talk of the room in the not good way. So
We should like record you guys like working out at
I
the
actually
gym.
think
Oh,
that
in those
my
like
gosh, yeah.
we should make a
80s
TikTok of
tracks.
you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah, we should. For our Instagram, we should make a reel because we're not on TikTok. But
Right.
That's
for-
true.
Yeah. But anyways, what were we saying?
We
the
were on
series.
Oh yeah.
The
So,
series.
so the
And it's
series.
called Shape Up. That's as far as we got.
So for those of you who don't know, my memory is like absolutely terrible. This is example number 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a series. It's called Shape Up, and we're gonna be going through the Book of James and talking about how to like work out your faith, right? How to like work out your faith in the everyday. And as we head into the summer, you know, I think it's really important for us to be looking at how we can be practically, you know, living out our faith, because the summer is one of the times of our lives where we're given the most amount of freedom as youth, you know, to experience things that we've never like done before. Our parents tend to like let us stay out later than usual because, you know, we don't have school the next day, and you know, maybe we're able to, you know, be with our friends that we wouldn't usually be able to be with because of, you know, all of this extracurricular activity and stuff. And so it's in those moments that I think it's most important for us to be looking at what the Bible has to say about how to live your life, you know? And I think James just hits a lot of different points in like a consecutive like basis that allows for us to, you know, cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time, versus going through, you know, maybe some of the other Old Testament books where they're kind of like focusing maybe on like one aspect of things for like a couple weeks, which has its place, definitely has its place. But I think right now, just the way to kick off the summer is just to go through the Book of James.
Yeah, and I think you hit it sort of on the head when you said really to kick off the summer, because we had talked a couple of times about whether or not we should do James like earlier on in the year, because we did a series in Hosea, we did a series in Ephesians about unity, and then we did our TikTok series, and now we're leading to this. And I think that the timing of it is really good because we actually just finished a series on Wednesday night called IRL, and the last
Which stands for in real life.
Yeah.
right.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
We're not all youth pastors here.
That's true.
It's like you guys are speaking a different language.
What planet you guys from?
But the last part of that series was Chris teaching, you know, what a relationship with God truly is. And I think establishing, even for, you know, a 10, 15-minute teaching, establishing a base like that for a series like this with, once we have that relationship with God and once we have that faith, how do we live that out in the way that we're called to do? And I just think mixing it in with the, you know, with a lot of the gym motifs and the working out stuff, I think it would just help them apply it a bit more. Because I do know some kids at Randolph who like to go to the gym, who play sports, who work out. So I think that they'll get a kick out of it, and even everyone else too, because, you know, we'll be dressed up in goofy outfits. But at the same time, I think that the lessons from Scripture are going to be apparent going into the summer, because, you know, a lot of kids have big decisions to make. Like, they're either going off to school, some of them are looking for summer jobs, some of them are, you know, looking for what college they want to go to. And I think that while they're making those decisions, that they don't lose sight of what God has for them. And I think that this could be a great reminder of that, and also a way to build their already established faith. So I think that's huge, like Chris said, going into the summer.
Yeah,
That's
I like
awesome.
how you guys are being creative with it. Like, you're making it fun, but you're not losing the gospel in the fun. You're You're
Right.
just using it to enhance it. That's really
Right.
cool.
I know one thing for me growing up in youth, and I didn't grow up at Grace. I grew up in a church down in Virginia. But the summer was when I would get, like, I would say closest to God because of missions trips and just being more involved in my youth group, and then I would come to school like the following year and just feel super lost. So I think it's like really awesome that you guys are doing this series.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Definitely in the summer, I would find my closest moments to God and my lowest moments from God, all at the same time.
Right.
Towards the end of the summer is when I find my closest moments, because that's when I would go to camp.
Right.
In the beginning, it was like, I was like, oh, I can't wait to get to camp because then I'm going to get close to God.
Right.
That was just my way of thinking at the time. But to give you an idea just of the outline for even just the first message, to get a kind of a sneak peek into
give
it.
us some spoilers.
It's like, so our big idea, right, our key mindset is what I'm kind of calling it, because we're kind of sticking with this like mentality of like working out and stuff, is pain equals gains, right? So preach.
Somebody get that man up there.
Yeah.
Feel the burn.
Yeah, you gotta feel the burn, right? Because
No pain, no gain.
Count it all joy, brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. And so then the 3 points that we have are like finding joy in trials, but not being joyous for trials. And I think that's like a really interesting statement, because it's like, when we're in the midst of a trial, like we should seek out the joy that God has for us in the midst of that, right? Because, there's two mentalities, and this is basically the illustration that I use. Like when you're doing a workout, you can either just be thinking about the midst of that workout and think like, man, I am just suffering right now. Like, who invented running? Like, I don't want to run.
That's how I feel when I do core.
As someone who just started working out again, who invented a stair stepper machine?
Oh,
I want their name,
I like those,
and I want it in red.
Yeah, and so you can be thinking of that mentality, or you can be thinking like, man, like I'm thankful for this workout because I know in the end I'm going to have a greater endurance. I'm going to be stronger, and so you're thinking like past the suffering that exists in the workout.
I feel like that's my dad. He like loves working out because he knows like the end result is going to be like him having a healthier life.
Yeah, but I want the end result now.
Yeah,
While
exactly,
sitting on
right?
a couch, please.
Right? Yeah, they have like all those. I remember, what are those? I always see like ads for the most ridiculous like cheats,
Oh yeah, like drink this thing and you're gonna lose like
or
20
like they
pounds.
put those like vibrating machines around your stomach.
Or like the sweat ones that are like constrict and like make you sweat more.
Yeah.
Oh, what is that one?
But they like shock your muscles.
to like make you
do that
grow
workout.
abs.
Yeah. So interesting.
Oh my gosh, the cheating is unreal.
Right.
But anyway, you kind of said something about big ideas. So kind of going with our behind the sermon type of questions. How do you guys come up with the big idea? Do you do it like, do you come together and you're like, okay, this is the big idea for the whole sermon or the whole series? Like, how do you sermon prep?
So we function basically the same way that, the adult ministry functions. We have like our, like own little teaching team here between Mike, Ruben, and I,
Oh, sweet.
where we like come together and we say like, hey, this is what we're thinking about teaching. What are some of the ideas? Like we said, we like to be creative. So, we sit down together and we talk through some of the ideas. And then when it comes to the big idea, that's something that's kind of generated more individually and then brought to the table as to, what do you guys think about this? So for me, it was like, okay, I'm going through chapter 1 of James. What's the big idea of chapter 1 of James, right? And for me, I think the biggest takeaway is pain equals gains, right? Like you need to go through trials in order to continue to grow in your relationship with God. And I think that really Paul is kind of just like going through this chapter trying to help, or James is really trying to go through this chapter trying to like help you to discern the difference between trials and then temptations and the benefits of trials, and not trying to mistake temptations to be trials, right? Because you're like, oh, like, I'm just being so tempted right now, but this temptation is going to make me like stronger for God. So like, let me seek out this like more temptation or something like that, right? It's like God isn't the one that's tempting you. Like that's not the case. God will put you through a test, through a trial, right? And that is for your, benefit. That is for your growth in your relationship with Him. But that's not the same as a temptation, right? So don't think that either. And then also like what you do with your trials, right? So my last point is actions improve your reactions, right? And so you can't just be hearers of the word, you also have to be doers of the word. And the more that you're doers of the word, the more that like you're going to be able to like have that reaction
Right.
time when you do enter into a trial. You know, you're going to be like, oh, okay, I know how to do this.
Yeah, you're building up your cat-like reflexes.
Exactly.
Right.
Right. Yeah. You're working on your like agility for
Yeah.
the trial. So that's basically how we, you know, do it. And Mike has, you know, like he just finished his second week of James too, right? Because we go back and forth. So like he'll write the manuscript one week, I'll write the manuscript the next week, and we just kind of
nice.
like trade off between that. Yeah.
And do you have like that 2 weeks ahead?
Yeah,
type
we
of
do
deal?
2 weeks
Okay,
ahead.
nice.
Yeah.
So you already know your big idea then.
If he can
Or are you
remember
working
it.
it? Yeah.
If
are
I
you-
can remember, yeah, I can.
You don't have
for
to
week
spoil-
2.
oh, okay.
But it's I titled it "Working Out in the Spiritual House of Gains," which is
Nice.
just so much fun.
Yo, we're really like buying.
Yeah,
it.
you're
we're
really
buying
going in.
into it.
Yeah.
You
It's
guys are like
it's gonna be
really
so
dudes
much
in the
fun.
gym.
Yeah. Dude bros.
But my big idea that I wrote for it is a strong faith and a weak faith are separated by the fruit that comes from it.
Okay.
So that deals a lot with chapter 2 of James. In order to know what it's about, come out on Randolph or Netcong. Come out to Randolph or Netcong on Sunday mornings, 9, 10, or 11:15
Yeah.
to find out more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice plug. Nice plug. I like it.
I hope our youth group kids will listen to this.
I hope so too.
Or
You should
kids
tell
that
them
don't go to
about
youth
it.
group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we no, I don't think we have actually.
You should
I
tell
don't
them
think we've
about it.
advertised it.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be
Come
cool.
on, guys.
I know, we're slacking. We're slacking.
I'm trying to remember if I listened to podcasts at their age.
I didn't. I
Yeah.
didn't really listen to
Well,
podcasts until
podcasts
college.
weren't like
They weren't a thing.
They weren't
Yeah.
a thing.
Also, like
either.
smartphones and just
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Like now,
they
I
all,
feel like
they all have it now.
I
so.
probably would be listening to podcasts.
Right.
Yeah.
But obviously, they weren't around when I was a teen. So.
I'd be listening to a podcast about like gaming or something like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, which I don't even know why. I
Not
would do
gains.
That. Yeah, gaming, not gains.
We're here for the gains.
Yeah. So you guys got any more questions you want to serve up
Yeah,
to
we
us
do.
here? Huh?
So kind of going off of the series and going back to just more lighthearted questions just about youth, but what has been your favorite experience with youth so far this year? Any favorite memories?
So for myself, you know, like I said, I'm relatively new here at Grace. What?
I just, I don't know.
There was a noise and it distracted. You probably can't hear it on the mics, or maybe you can.
Yeah, I don't know. Alexa just made a face, so then I just.
Because I heard the noise. I'm sorry. Anyway.
No, it's okay. This is great. But more for myself, you know, like I said, I didn't truly know what to expect when I came here because, you know, I had been going to the same church for the last 6 or 7 years. So walking into a new environment with new people to work with, new people to meet, and new students to interact with, I was a little bit nervous at first because I was like, you know, how is this going to be coming out of COVID back on Sundays?
Right.
You know, are they going to connect with me? And the question that was ultimately in the back of my head was like, are they going to like me?
Right.
Like, because
They don't.
I know.
Just kidding.
Chris is a great encourager if
Yeah,
you
he is,
ever
yep.
need it.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
He's a great person to be stuck in the elevator with.
He also really likes mochas.
Those are
But-
both inside jokes that they shouldn't have said because no one understands them.
Or do they? No, I'm kidding.
Anyway, but over the last couple months, I've enjoyed just getting to interact with a lot of students, even just on a base level, because, you know, it's just an opportunity for me, you know, to let them know what I'm all about, and let them know that the type of person I am, and then I'm like, listen, I'm not here to throw scripture at you. Like, I'm not here to bombard you with things.
Yeah.
I'm here to not only help you grow, but to grow as a person and as a minister myself. And because that's always the thing that I'm always looking out for myself of, is that I never stay stagnant. It's like I never want to stay, you know, I'll be content with where I am. But as far as growth goes, I always want to be growing into that next step of my life when the time is necessary.
Right.
And that's when I want to let them know of like, even though I may be your pastor, and even though, you know, you see me up here teaching every other week or teaching every week, I'm not, you know, the perfect human being you think that I am. You know, I still struggle with things in my personal life, and that is okay because I am a man, a broken man looking to be put back together by God. And that's when I want to let them know that, you know, I may be going through some experiences, and that's completely okay if you're going through experiences too. And getting able to connect with them, I haven't necessarily found that stuff out, which is totally cool with me. But just letting them know that I'm looking to grow with them, I'm looking to have fun with them, and I'm looking to take a journey with them too. Because, growing my ministry is something that I really set out with when I first even started my ministry career, like when I went to school. That's something that I always wanted to do, was just continually grow my ministry and continually grow myself. And getting to know these students, especially on Sunday mornings, I feel the connection there has gotten stronger and stronger. And now, like, I usually stay after with them on Sundays, and we all play games together. Sometimes
Nice.
They were scattered around the room, but now a lot of the times we come together and we play a game, which is super encouraging and something that I've loved experiencing. Just warming up to those kids and having them warm up to me over the last couple months.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What was the question again? It was, what was my favorite memory so far?
Yeah, of this past
Favorite
year with
memory
you.
or just of this
Oh,
past
okay,
year
yeah.
of youth group.
I think my favorite memory was our leader appreciation night.
I got to miss
Oh,
that.
that was great.
Yeah.
I
Katya
like how you
missed
said it like that.
Yeah.
You're like, I got to miss it. It's
No,
awesome.
she wishes she was there.
Yeah, I
know,
do
I know,
wish
I
I was there, but it's
Yeah.
okay. I had to work.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I tried to get you off, but you weren't allowed to leave your post. So yeah, my favorite memory was the leader appreciation night that we've had. And it was the first time that we did anything like this, but basically like instead of it being like, just having them come up at the end of a normal night or something like that and then just giving them a card or whatever, we centered the night around the students like rallying behind their leaders as their leaders did like very extreme games and like fought for a pizza party for their group.
Aw,
Nice.
that's fun.
Yeah, so the students made like these poster boards, all had different teams, so it was like blue team, green team, and yellow team. And they came
What
up with
team
like
won?
blue team won,
Nice.
right? Yeah,
Nice.
so they came up
Not
with like
my team.
not your team.
What was
Maybe
your
if you were
team?
there, maybe.
Were we yellow?
You were
Yeah.
yellow.
Yeah.
Because you
For
told me
middle
that.
Schoolers.
You told me that Matt was so used to always being like yellow team or something like that.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah. So I was like, oh,
From
that's
like
great.
our old camps that we've
Yeah.
done in the past. But
Yeah. So Matt was like, loving it.
Yeah.
Some of the other leaders, I don't know how much they really loved it.
See,
But-
I always
We're
love
all
that 'cause I'm
about
so
that.
competitive.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
all
I'm
about
so-
like winning.
Yeah, I know, but like the
Do what it
energy
takes.
difference, it's but yeah, it was a lot of fun. The students had like a great time. Mike and I think we had like a great time too. And I think the leaders, they did have a good time, even if it wasn't all of their scene. I think in the end, it's better for you to have a night where you're actually like bonding with your students. Than for us to have like a leader appreciation night where we just take the leaders out for dinner or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Because the leaders, as much as they do appreciate each other, they're really there for the students, right? So like for them to have a night where they're like, hey, it's you, and the students are showing you how much they love you. Like for me, I think,
I'm with you.
I
would
think
rather
that's
that,
cool,
yeah.
and you're having fun like at the same time. Like Bethany DeWalt went like apple bobbing and she killed it. That's how the blue team won.
That's
It was
awesome.
tied up, and literally it was anybody's game, and it was Andrew, Morse, and then
And then Matt.
Bethany DeWalt, and then Matt. And it was the three of them in an apple bobbing contest, and everybody thought that it was like either gonna be Andrew or Matt. And then Bethany comes in with a disrupt, right? And she just like kills it. She like totally beats them,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
blows them out of the water, and we're all like
Literally.
in shock.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. And it was so much fun. Like it was a great night.
That does sound like fun.
Yeah. Obviously, there's like different kinds of memories that you can hint towards, but I think in terms of just like fun and bonding like with each other, I think that was definitely like one of the highlights.
Yeah, and I think a more specific moment, I guess, for me is the first game night that we did back in March when we did it inside. Did we do it in March or in April?
I don't remember.
I think it was in March because
You're asking
April
the
we
guy
did.
that forgets everything.
All right, yeah, good
Forgot the
point.
question.
April was outside. We did one outside, but the first game night in March was a ton of fun because I remember, we were setting up. We set up sports in the back, which I was able to run. We set up board games in the middle, and then video games on the stage. and we were expecting like our normal like maybe 50 kids to come out.
Yeah.
We ended up having like 70 or 80 kids show up.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
Um,
insane.
that's a
It
good
was
size, yeah.
I don't know how we were able to keep a handle on it, but
yeah,
we did,
everyone
which
was
is-
very like respectful and like calm. And
Nice.
But at the same time, like everybody was able to do something. Like nobody was sitting out, nobody was, just watching. Like they were either playing sports, they were playing board games, or they were playing video games. And, the main complaint that we had from that night was it was too short. And
Yeah.
everybody wanted to stay
That's a
like an
good
extra half
complaint
hour.
to
Yeah.
have, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, and even so, like with the return to, I'll put quotes around normalcy like that was a really fun time for us to just unwind a little bit, have some fun, because we didn't teach on that night.
Yeah.
We would just have them come in, we set a few ground rules, and then we just let them go.
Yeah.
And it was just hour and a half straight of just a good time, fellowship amongst everybody, and it was just awesome.
Yeah, and that was just another night where leaders got to bond with their kids too.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
doing like non-teaching things.
Mm.
So, yeah,
I always liked the bonding nights when I was a youth teacher. Like that was always fun. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like you get to hang out with like your kids outside of like, oh, we're going through the Bible study. Not that it's not good to go through the Bible study because that's another way you bond with them, but it's just fun
Yeah.
to like,
Yeah.
I don't know, just have fun and play games and joke around and stuff.
come back,
Yeah.
come back, Alexa.
I'm thinking about it. I really miss
Please.
it.
Why did you
Please.
leave us?
I really miss youth. I really do. But speaking of like youth and future plans, because you kind of want me to come back and that's like a future thing, I'll make the stretch. What kind of
What a
future plans?
Yeah, right.
What kind of future plans do you guys have that you can share? Because I know like some you want to keep secret or whatnot, but what future plans of this coming year can you share with us?
So looking into next year,
Yes,
And even this summer.
even this summer.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Well, it's not. I guess none of the things in the summer are really a secret, right?
No.
Yeah, because we have like the mission trip coming up,
Mm-hmm.
which is a trip, in itself in terms of trying to set up because it's in the midst of this like craziness, right? Where everything's coming back, but everyone's kind of like hesitant of things coming back. So like in the past where we've had like, instant signups for mission trips, we're kind of like struggling to get that investment in. And I think part of it is like, because it's not a super attractive trip in the sense that it's going to another state or going to Alaska or going to Puerto Rico,
Right.
Puerto
like
Rico was really
we're going to Randolph, right? We're
Randolph is cool.
We're going to the third
Hey.
floor of this building that we're recording
Our-
this podcast.
Literally, like help our backyard before going overseas.
No,
Like,
100%. No, and
Yeah,
I'm totally
yeah.
behind that. And that's like our whole theme, right, for the mission trip, which is like kingdom here on earth as it is in heaven. Like really like
Oh, nice
bringing
theme.
the practicality of like serving your community
Right.
to the forefront of our students' minds, because that should be the most attractive thing, right?
Right.
The most attractive thing should be like, oh, okay, how can I serve my neighbor? Not how can I serve someone in another state that I'm going to see for a week and then never see again.
Right.
Like that's important too. That has its place, right? Where like maybe that community needs that aid, but like it's also important to be aware of the fact that like your community needs help too.
Right.
And you can serve that community.
Right.
It's not weird for you to go and serve the widow or the single mom, or like the family that's unable to like, work on the projects around their house that they have. Like we can do that stuff. And I think it's important for us to kind of like instill that in our students too.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the mission trip. I think that we're like slowly kind of gaining momentum. Part of it was I think we weren't 100% sure what that plan was going to look like this year, if we were even going to have it this year, because just a couple months ago it looked like everything might have still been shut down for however
Yeah.
many months into the future.
Right.
So we're kind of playing a little bit of catch up there. But we have about like 18, close to 20, students.
Pretty good.
Yeah. And even with that, I think it's still going to be good. We're going to be working with like different ministries around the area. We're talking with some right now, and yeah, and then we're still going to have a blast at night too.
Yeah.
Right. Like we're going hard on that stuff too, because we like to have fun while we're serving God. So that's one of the things that we're going to be doing.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And even so, to sort of keep in connection with our students throughout the summer, since we don't do small groups in the summer, we're doing like summer night Fridays, because I remember last year you guys did summer night Sundays. And That was before I got here, but now we're sort of transitioning it into Friday nights, which seem to work for most people.
Nice.
But those are going to be nights of just hanging out, having a nice time, and just keeping connection with them. Not necessarily like teaching anything, but really just, not even checking up on them, but staying in connection with them throughout the summer to let them know that, like, hey, even though you guys aren't in small groups, like, we still want you to have fellowship with each other, and we still want to have fellowship with you too. We still want to see you guys. We still want to know how you guys are doing. So I think that's something that can also be, really exciting to do because, they've been meeting every week since when did you guys start up again? July last year?
Again, you're asking the guy that forgets everything.
But define starting up again, like, because last year we did virtual.
We didn't really. Like,
oh, you didn't really stop.
Yeah,
we just went on to Zoom.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, I meant so. Let me ask this question. When you started meeting back in person again, is the question.
I remember being there. I don't remember the day.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I'll talk to Ruben then.
I think it was summer because that's when you did the outdoor like.
No, it was like I think it was fall. I think it was starting like fall, summerish area.
So September.
I guess.
We're going with September.
Okay, let's go with September then. Everybody mark it on the calendar.
Someone tell us if we're wrong.
But yeah, so, they've been meeting in person for so long now to take a break. We don't want them to lose that, like lose the relationships that they've made, not even just between, us and the fellow leaders, but like relationships between the fellow classmates and each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be a big part of helping them stay connected with each other and ultimately just getting together and having fun again. Because
are you going to do like the paint night, like paint fight? What was that you did last year?
Color War.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely in the pipeline.
Oh, that's 100%. A fun one.
Yeah.
Those are fun.
Yeah, those are so good.
Yeah.
Some nights we'll have like structured events, but probably for most of them we won't have structured events because like there's just this I think this chill factor that students have now, where they're like, I feel like when we were in youth group, it was like everything was structured,
Yeah.
and we were always like doing some kind of like event or some kind of structured game and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
And like that was like fun. But these kids are like, oh, you're going to play that game. I'm just going to sit over here in the corner. I don't want to play that.
Yeah.
Like whatever. I'll just be on my phone. And so it's like, okay, we could force everyone to play a game or we could let them do what they want to do and then they'll actually participate with each other.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would just rather them hang out with each other than
Like
have
having
a few
options.
sit down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
And they create the options, right? Because they're like, oh, we want to play football. Okay, bring a football. Oh, we want to play soccer. Okay. We'll set up the cones, whatever you want to do, like we'll help you do that thing, because it's about you guys, really. It's not about us. So, yeah.
No, but that sounds like a lot of fun stuff that is coming down the pipeline, right? That's the saying. Sorry, I'm really bad at sayings. But no, thanks for sharing. And I think I don't have any more questions than Katya, do you?
I don't.
Yeah.
But I am looking forward to the summer and the school year coming up.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of exciting things for the youth, like the sermon series that's coming up in James and the missions trip. And if you guys want to sign up for the missions trip, you can still do so.
Yeah.
Is that still a thing? Okay.
Yep.
You can still do so, and you can do it on the app if you want, or you can reach out to Sarah at graceforfamilies.com. And usually Chris passes it over to me at this point anyway to tell you when the next podcast is. So I'll just keep talking.
Because I forget everything.
So the next
That's
podcast will be a Behind the Sermons series 1, and our guest, as usual, will be a surprise. So keep tuned and follow us on Spotify so you can always know when we drop new content. So thanks for listening, and I hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah, and Mike, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. And just so everybody knows, I'm going to find out who the surprise guest is and tell everyone.
Wow, thanks for ruining it.
You're never coming back on.
No, I know. That just sealed my deal.
This is Mike's last podcast with us.
Good seeing everyone, all right?
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.